The unexpected arrival. The sky was a deep blue, dotted with fluffy white clouds, when the spaceship landed. It was unlike anything the people of Earth had ever seen. Shiny and sleek, it shimmered in the sunlight as it touched down on the grassy field near the small town of Maplewood. Curious villagers gathered, whispering in excitement and fear. The news had spread quickly. An alien princess was coming to visit. Lyra, the alien princess, stepped out of her ship. She was tall and elegant, with bright green skin that glimmered like emeralds. Her long, flowing hair sparkled with tiny stars, giving her an otherworldly appearance. Dressed in a gown made of shimmering fabric, she looked like she had just walked out of a dream. The villagers stared in awe, some in disbelief, but all were captivated by her beauty and grace. As she walked toward the crowd, the whispers grew louder. What does she want? Is she here to conquer us? Will we be safe? But Lyra only smiled, her bright eyes shining with kindness. She raised her hands in greeting, her voice sweet and melodic as she spoke. I come in peace, friends of Earth. I wish to learn about your world. Captain John, the leader of the welcoming committee, stepped forward. He was a tall man with a serious face, but his heart was filled with curiosity. Welcome, Princess Lyra. We are honored by your visit. I am Captain John, and I will show you our world. Lyra nodded gratefully. She had heard much about Earth and its people. The stories of their bravery and creativity filled her with excitement. She stepped closer to the captain, her eyes sparkling with interest. I want to understand your ways, your culture, and your dreams, she said. I believe that we can learn from each other. As they walked together, Captain John pointed out the beautiful sights of Maplewood. They passed by the green fields, the sparkling river, and the cheerful houses. Villagers watched from their doors, some waving while others still hid in fear. Children laughed and played, their innocence shining brightly amidst the uncertainty. This is a simple town, John explained, but we have a rich history and a strong spirit. Lyra listened intently, eager to soak in every word. She felt a bond forming with these humans. They seemed friendly and open, and she wished to explore the world they lived in. After a tour of the town, they arrived at the town square, where a festival was being prepared in Lyra's honor. Colorful banners fluttered in the wind, and tables filled with food were being set up. The sweet smell of pies and roasted meats filled the air, making Lyra's stomach growl. What is that delicious smell? She asked, her eyes widening with curiosity. John laughed. That's our local cuisine. You'll get to taste it all at the festival tonight. He looked at her with excitement. We want you to feel welcomed. This is a celebration of our new friendship. As the sun began to set, the square filled with townsfolk. They brought their best dishes, and music filled the air. The villagers danced and sang, sharing stories of their lives. Lyra felt a wave of happiness wash over her. She had never experienced anything like this. Laughter echoed around her, and for the first time, she felt truly at home. Yet, in the shadows, other figures watched. Not everyone was thrilled about the arrival of the alien princess. A group of humans whispered among themselves, their faces darkened with suspicion. They believed that Lyra's visit was not as innocent as it seemed. She must have a hidden agenda. One man said, "We can't trust her." As the festival continued, Lyra joined in the dancing, her long gown flowing around her. She laughed and smiled, feeling a connection with the people. They welcomed her with open arms, and she began to forget the dark thoughts of those lurking in the shadows. But deep inside her heart, Lyra felt a tug of uncertainty. She had come to Earth with hopes of forming an alliance, but what if the humans were not as they appeared? She had heard stories of betrayal among her own kind, and it haunted her now. Would she be safe here? Just as the night reached its peak, a sudden loud noise echoed through the square. The ground shook, and everyone froze. A bright light appeared in the sky, drawing the attention of all. The people gasped, their joy turning to fear. "What is that?" Lyra asked, her eyes wide. John frowned, squinting at the light. "I don't know, but we need to be careful. This is unusual." The light grew brighter, and a shadow began to take shape. Lyra's heart raced. What could it be? In that moment, she realized that her visit to Earth might not be as peaceful as she had hoped. The excitement of her arrival faded, replaced by a growing sense of danger. She had come to learn, but now she felt the weight of a possible threat looming over her. The festival, once filled with laughter and joy, now stood still in fear. In the back of her mind, Lyra began to wonder if the humans were hiding something, and if this unexpected arrival would lead to something much more serious than friendship. As the light descended, everyone held their breath. Little did they know that this was only the beginning of a conflict that would change everything. Whispers of betrayal. The bright light in the sky grew closer, illuminating the faces of the gathered townsfolk. Fear danced in their eyes, and the joyous atmosphere from earlier quickly turned to one of dread. The strange light pulsed like a heartbeat, sending ripples of anxiety through the crowd. Lyra glanced at Captain John, who stood firm, though his brow furrowed in concern. "What is happening?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. John shook his head, still staring at the light. "I don't know. We need to stay calm. Let's get everyone to safety." As the commotion grew, Lyra could sense the tension in the air. The townspeople whispered among themselves, exchanging glances filled with uncertainty. It seemed the festival of friendship was on the brink of chaos. Suddenly, the light exploded, showering the square with sparks. A loud thud echoed as a dark figure emerged from the brilliance. It was a ship, similar to Lyra's, but this one looked menacing, built for war. Its metallic surface reflected the light of the moon, and dark symbols were etched into its hull. The crowd gasped, stepping back in unison, fear spreading like wildfire. Lyra felt her heart race as she looked up at the ship. She had come to Earth seeking friendship, but this was a clear sign of conflict. Who could be aboard that vessel? From the ship, a hatch opened, and a tall figure clad in dark armor stepped out. His skin was a deep shade of blue, and his eyes glowed with an eerie light. He raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "I am Zorak, commander of the Galactic Federation. I have come to retrieve Princess Lyra. She has no place here." Lyra's stomach dropped. She felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you want with me?" she demanded, stepping forward, determined to protect herself. Zorak's gaze shifted to her, his eyes narrowing. "You have betrayed your people by coming to this world. You were meant to be our leader, not a traitor seeking friendship with the enemy." Captain John stepped in front of Lyra, a protective gesture. "She is not a traitor. She came here seeking peace, not war." Zorak laughed, a cold, menacing sound. "Peace. You think this world is worth saving. The humans are weak. You should embrace your power, Lyra, not wasted on these insignificant creatures." The townspeople murmured, fear evident in their faces. Some began to back away, their belief in the alien princess wavering. Lyra's heart sank. She had hoped to bridge the gap between their worlds, but now it seemed like everything was falling apart. "I have made my choice," Lyra said firmly, her voice steady. "I believe in the goodness of these people. I will not go with you." Zorak's expression darkened. "You will regret this decision. The Galactic Federation does not take betrayal lightly. If you refuse to return, we will have no choice but to destroy this planet." Gasps echoed throughout the crowd. John's face turned pale as he realized the gravity of the situation. "You can't do that," he shouted, anger rising within him. "We've done nothing to you." "Your kind will pay for her defiance," Zorak declared, raising his hand again. "Prepare for annihilation." The crowd erupted into chaos. People screamed, scattering in all directions. Lyra felt a rush of panic as she clutched John's arm. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Stay close to me," John replied, determination evident in his tone. "We need to evacuate the square. We can't let them destroy our home." They turned and ran, dodging frightened villagers who rushed to find shelter. The air was thick with tension, and the reality of the threat hung heavily over them. As they reached the edge of the square, John led them toward the nearby woods, where they could regroup and think. But as they ran, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How could Zorak accuse her of abandoning her people when all she wanted was to build a bridge? Doubt crept into her mind. What if Zorak was right? What if the humans were not worthy of her trust? As they reached the safety of the trees, John turned to the group, breathing heavily. We need to come up with a plan. If they're serious about attacking, we must defend our home. Lyra nodded, determination surging within her. I won't let them destroy Earth. I'll fight for you, for this planet. John looked at her with admiration. You're brave, Lyra, but we need to be smart about this. If we're going to stop Zorak, we need to gather allies and prepare for a counterattack. In the woods, they gathered in a small clearing, the atmosphere tense but focused. The villagers listened as John explained the situation, their fear transforming into resolve. Lyra felt a sense of unity with the humans. They were all in this together, fighting against a common enemy. We may be outnumbered, but we have strength in our hearts, John said, looking each person in the eye. Together, we can stand against Zorak and protect our world. The group nodded, a fire igniting in their spirits. They would not let fear dictate their actions. As Lyra looked around at the determined faces, she felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. The betrayal she feared seemed distant now. She was part of something greater. But deep down, the shadows of doubt lingered. Zorak would not stop easily. He would return, and she knew they had to prepare for the inevitable conflict. The princess had come to Earth to find allies, but now she found herself leading a fight for survival. Lyra took a deep breath, the cool air filling her lungs with resolve. She would not let her home be destroyed. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. United in their purpose, they would show Zorak that the humans were not as weak as he believed. The battle for Earth was only just beginning, gathering forces. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow through the trees, Lyra felt a mix of hope and anxiety. The night's events had shaken her, but the determination of the townsfolk gave her strength. They gathered in the clearing, ready to devise a plan to face Zorak and the Galactic Federation. John stood at the center of the group, his voice steady and commanding. We need to spread the word and gather allies. This fight is not just for our town. It's for everyone on this planet. He paused, looking at Lyra. Princess, we need your help to convince others to join us. Lyra nodded, her heart racing. She had never been in such a position of leadership before, but she was determined to protect Earth. I will reach out to the neighboring towns. If we can unite them, we will stand a better chance against Zorak's forces. The group began to disperse, each person knowing their role in the fight ahead. John organized a small team to fortify their defenses, while Lyra set off with a few brave villagers toward the nearby town of Eldridge. As they walked, Lyra thought about how to convince the other townspeople of the threat they faced. Many humans had welcomed her with open arms, but others might be skeptical. She needed to emphasize the urgency of their situation. Upon reaching Eldridge, they found a bustling marketplace. Merchants were setting up their stalls, and children played in the streets. Lyra approached a group of adults gathered near the town square. They looked up, their expressions shifting from curiosity to surprise as they recognized her. Princess Lyra, one of the men exclaimed, stepping forward. What brings you here? I come with urgent news, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. An alien commander named Zorak has come to Earth with threats of destruction. We need your help to stand against him. The crowd murmured, skepticism flickering in their eyes. Why should we trust you? A woman asked, crossing her arms. You are one of them. I may be an alien, Lyra said, holding her head high, but I have chosen to fight for this planet. I believe in the goodness of humanity. I have seen it in my time here. Together, We can stand against Zorak." The crowd exchanged glances, some nodding slowly. "What do you suggest?" the man asked. "We need to unite our towns and form a defense," Lyra urged. "If we stand together, we can protect our homes and show Zorak that we will not be intimidated." After a tense moment, the man stepped forward. "Very well, Princess. If what you say is true, then we will help. Eldridge will join you." Lyra's heart swelled with hope. With Eldridge on their side, they could rally more support. She and her companions spent the day speaking to villagers, sharing stories, and urging them to unite. By evening, they had gathered a small but determined force of townsfolk willing to fight. As they returned to their town, Lyra felt a newfound sense of purpose. They were gaining momentum, but the threat of Zorak loomed larger with each passing moment. She knew they had to act quickly. Back at their clearing, John awaited their return, his expression brightening as he saw the newcomers. "Did you succeed?" Lyra nodded. "Eldridge is with us. We have a small force ready to fight, but we need more if we want to stand a chance." John grinned, his enthusiasm infectious. "That's fantastic. We need to spread the word to other towns. If we can gather enough people, we'll show Zorak he can't mess with us." The group quickly organized, strategizing their next steps. They decided to send small teams to neighboring towns, spreading the news of the impending attack. Each team would carry the same message: "Join us in the fight for Earth." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Lyra and John worked tirelessly, traveling from town to town, sharing their story and gathering support. Some towns welcomed them with open arms, while others were hesitant but curious. The seeds of unity began to grow, and whispers of rebellion against Zorak's forces spread like wildfire. However, as they gathered strength, the tension in the air grew thicker. Lyra could sense Zorak's presence looming over them, waiting for the right moment to strike. She was determined to be ready. One evening, as they gathered around a fire to discuss their plans, John looked around at the diverse faces gathered together. "We may come from different places, but today we stand as one. Each of us brings something unique to this fight, and together we are stronger." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight of their unity. "We are fighting not just for ourselves, but for everyone on this planet. This is our home, and we will not let anyone take it from us." The fire crackled, illuminating their faces as the night deepened. Each person shared their stories, their hopes, and their fears. Lyra listened intently, realizing that each tale added to the fabric of their strength. They were not just fighting against Zorak. They were fighting for each other, for a future filled with possibilities. But in the back of her mind, Lyra could not shake the feeling of doubt. Zorak would not give up easily, and she had to be prepared for the battle that awaited them. As the night wore on, she looked up at the stars, her heart filled with determination. "Tomorrow, we continue to gather our forces," she said, her voice steady. "We will not rest until we are ready to face Zorak and show him that Earth will not fall without a fight." The group cheered, their spirits lifted by her words. They were united, and together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The unexpected arrival of Zorak had brought them together, but it would take more than just courage to protect their world. They would need to stand firm, united as one. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. With the sun rising behind them, illuminating their path, Lyra led the group to the front lines, where they would face Zorak's forces. She felt a sense of determination radiate from her allies, and she knew they were ready to stand their ground. As they took their positions, Lyra felt a surge of adrenaline. The time for planning was over. Now they would put their strategy to the test. Zorak would soon come, and they would show him the strength of a united Earth. The clash of forces. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and red. It was a beautiful morning, but the tension in the air felt electric. Lyra stood at the forefront of the makeshift defensive line, her heart racing with anticipation. She could see the determination in the eyes of her allies. They were ready for the fight ahead. As the townsfolk took their positions, Lyra felt a surge of responsibility. They were counting on her, and she would not let them down. She glanced at John, who was speaking with Marcus, sharing information gathered from the scouts. "Zorak's ships are moving closer," Marcus reported, his voice low but urgent. "They'll be here within the hour." The group fell silent, the weight of Marcus's words settling heavily over them. Lyra could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain calm. Panic would not help them now. "Remember our plan," John reminded them, raising his voice to rally the group. "We'll hold the line here and push them back. Stay strong and stay together. We fight as one." As they took their positions, the sound of approaching ships filled the air, a low hum that grew louder with each passing moment. Lyra squinted into the distance, and soon the alien ships appeared, glinting menacingly in the morning sun. The sight sent a shiver down her spine. "Everyone ready," John shouted. The townsfolk nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. Lyra raised her own makeshift spear, feeling its weight in her hands. This was it. The first wave of Zorak's forces descended upon them, a massive shadow blotting out the sun. The ground trembled as the ships landed, and the air was filled with the sounds of metallic doors slamming open. Then they emerged, Zorak's warriors, clad in dark, shiny armor, their eyes glinting with malice. They were taller than humans, with long limbs and sharp features. Their presence sent fear rippling through Lyra's allies, but she stood firm, reminding herself that they were fighting for their survival. "Hold your ground," she yelled, trying to instill courage in those around her. The first alien warriors charged, weapons drawn, and the townsfolk responded with a united front. The clash of metal rang out, echoing through the valley. Lyra fought alongside her friends, her heart racing as she dodged blows and swung her spear with all her might. In the chaos, she caught sight of John fighting fiercely, rallying those around him. His voice was like a beacon, guiding them through the storm of combat. Marcus was a blur of motion, moving swiftly and efficiently, taking down several enemies before they even had a chance to react. "Keep pushing," John shouted, determination etched on his face. "We can't let them break our lines." Lyra felt a surge of adrenaline as she engaged with the enemy. She focused on one warrior, her breath steady as she feinted left, and then thrust her spear forward, catching the alien off guard. The warrior fell to the ground, and she quickly moved on to the next. But the Zorak forces were relentless. More and more poured from the ships, overwhelming the makeshift defenses. Lyra's heart sank as she saw some of her friends struggling against the onslaught. "Form a line," she cried, trying to organize the townsfolk. "Don't let them break through." The townspeople rallied, pushing back against the alien warriors. Lyra fought harder, every swing of her spear fueled by the desire to protect her home and her newfound family. In the thick of battle, she spotted Zorak himself, a towering figure overseeing the chaos, his presence striking fear into the hearts of the townsfolk. He was imposing, with an air of authority that demanded respect. Lyra felt a surge of anger. This was the being responsible for the destruction of her peace, and she would not let him win. She locked eyes with him, a fierce determination burning within her. With a swift motion, she pushed through the throng of fighting, aiming to confront Zorak. The closer she got, the more chaotic the battle became. She could hear her friends calling out to her, but she focused on her goal. "Lyra, wait," John shouted, but she didn't stop. She had to confront Zorak. As she reached him, Zorak turned his gaze toward her, his expression unreadable. "You think you can stop me?" he boomed, his voice deep and intimidating. Lyra squared her shoulders, raising her spear. "I won't let you destroy my home." With that, she lunged at Zorak, but he sidestepped effortlessly, his movements fluid and confident. He grabbed her wrist, his grip strong and unyielding. Lyra struggled against him, but he was far more powerful. "You are brave, human," he said, his eyes narrowing. "But bravery alone will not save you." Just then, a loud explosion rocked the battlefield. Lyra's attention shifted as the townsfolk fought back fiercely, determined to hold their ground. In the chaos, John rallied their allies. "Don't lose hope. We can't let them win." Lyra felt a surge of hope, and she used all her strength to break free from Zorak's grip. She spun around, ready to rejoin the fight. "Together," she shouted, raising her spear high. The townsfolk responded, their spirits reignited by her call. They fought back, pushing against Zorak's forces with renewed determination. The sound of clashing metal echoed through the battlefield, and for a moment, Lyra felt they might just stand a chance. As the battle raged on, Lyra's resolve hardened. They would not be defeated. They would fight for their homes, their families, and their future. Zorak and his warriors would learn that Earth was not to be taken lightly. Together, they would stand against the impending darkness. The turning tide. The clash of weapons echoed around Lyra as she fought alongside her friends. The tide of the battle seemed to shift with every moment, and she could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins. They had rallied together, united against the threat of Zorak and his alien warriors. But the challenge was monumental. Lyra glanced around, taking stock of the situation. John was battling a group of Zorak's warriors, his movements quick and precise. He was inspiring, encouraging their friends to push forward, even as the aliens continued to advance. Marcus was not far behind, expertly dispatching enemies while ensuring the townsfolk stayed safe. Lyra took a deep breath, focusing her energy. "We can't let them break our lines," she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. The townsfolk echoed her sentiment, their determination renewing as they saw her fight with all her strength. Just then, a loud explosion rocked the battlefield, sending shockwaves through the ground. Lyra stumbled but quickly regained her footing, her eyes darting to the source of the noise. A nearby building, once a place of safety, had collapsed under the weight of the battle. Smoke filled the air, creating an ominous haze that threatened to engulf everything. "Regroup," John yelled, waving his arms to gather everyone. "We need to pull back to the defenses. We can't let them break through." Lyra felt her heart race as she fought her way back to John, dodging a barrage of energy blasts from the alien warriors. She could see the fear in the eyes of her friends, but they were also fueled by a fierce resolve. They would not give up their home without a fight. As they regrouped, John assessed their situation. "We need to hold the line. If we can force them back, we might buy enough time to come up with a better plan." He turned to Lyra, his expression serious. "Can you distract Zorak? If we can draw him away from the main fight, it might give us an advantage." Lyra swallowed hard. Facing Zorak was dangerous, but if it meant protecting her friends and family, she would do it. "I'll do my best," she said, determination etched on her face. "Be careful," John warned, gripping her shoulder. "We're counting on you." With that, Lyra moved toward the center of the battlefield, her heart pounding in her chest. The sounds of battle faded into the background as she focused on her goal, Zorak. He stood tall amidst the chaos, his imposing figure radiating power. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her weapon in her hands. She had to be strong. "Hey, Zorak," she shouted, her voice carrying over the noise. "If you want a real challenge, come and face me." Zorak turned his attention toward her, his gaze sharp and calculating. "You think you can distract me?" he taunted, a smirk on his lips. "You are nothing compared to my army." Lyra's heart raced, but she refused to back down. "Maybe, but I'm the one standing here. I won't let you destroy my home or my people." His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Lyra saw a flicker of surprise. She had caught his interest. "Very well," Zorak said, his voice deep and resonant. "Let us see if you are as brave as you claim." With that, he lunged at her, and Lyra barely managed to dodge, rolling to the side. The force of his attack sent debris flying, but she quickly regained her footing. She couldn't let fear overwhelm her. She had to focus. Lyra swung her spear, aiming for Zorak's midsection. He blocked the blow effortlessly, and their weapons clashed, sending vibrations through her arms. She gritted her teeth, pushing against his strength. Zorak was powerful, but she couldn't let that discourage her. "Is this all you have?" he taunted, his voice booming with laughter. "You humans are weak." Lyra felt anger surge within her. She would not be underestimated. "We are stronger than you think," she shouted, channeling all her energy into her next attack. She feinted left and struck right, catching him off guard. The blow landed, and Zorak stumbled back, surprise etched on his face. "Impressive," he admitted, regaining his composure. "But you cannot win." As they fought, Lyra could sense her friends rallying behind her. John and Marcus had rejoined the fray, and together, they fought fiercely against the Zorak warriors. Their support gave her strength. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for each other. Lyra parried Zorak's next blow and saw the opportunity. She pushed forward, landing another hit on his armor. Zorak roared in frustration, and the sound echoed across the battlefield. "You will pay for this insolence." But as he prepared to strike back, a blast of energy erupted from the side, striking one of his warriors and sending it crashing to the ground. It was Marcus, covering them from the flank. "Keep fighting," Marcus shouted, his voice ringing with determination. Lyra took advantage of the moment, launching another attack. She focused on Zorak, refusing to let up. "We are not afraid of you," she yelled, her spirit igniting a fire within her. As they clashed again, she could feel the tide of the battle shifting. The townsfolk rallied behind her, inspired by her bravery. They fought with renewed strength, pushing back against Zorak's forces. For the first time, Lyra felt hope. Maybe they could win this fight after all. Together, they would stand strong against the darkness threatening to consume their home. But Zorak was relentless, and the battle was far from over. As the fight continued, Lyra knew they had to remain vigilant. The clash of forces was just beginning, and the true test of their strength and unity awaited them. The final stand. The air crackled with tension as Lyra and her friends prepared for the decisive moment in the battle. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the sky above was thick with smoke and flashes of energy blasts. Exhaustion clung to them, but the fire in their hearts burned brighter than ever. They had fought too hard and sacrificed too much to let Zorak win. "Everyone, this is it," John shouted, his voice rising above the noise of war. "We need to push forward. If we can reach Zorak and take him down, we might just end this fight." Lyra nodded, determination fueling her resolve. They had rallied together, each member of their group bringing their unique strengths to the fight. They had become a family forged in the heat of battle, and they would not let Zorak's tyranny continue. "Stay close," Marcus called out, positioning himself in front of Lyra and John. "We fight together, or not at all." With a collective shout, the group charged forward, their weapons raised high. The ground shook as they collided with Zorak's forces, a wave of humanity pushing back against the alien invaders. Lyra could feel the adrenaline surging through her as she fought alongside her friends. Each blow they landed chipping away at Zorak's power. Zorak stood in the center of the chaos, his alien warriors falling around him. But he was not easily defeated. He roared in rage, summoning more of his soldiers to the forefront. "You think you can defeat me?" he bellowed. "I will crush you all." Lyra, undeterred, pressed forward. "Not if we have anything to say about it," she shouted, determination in her eyes. They fought with everything they had, moving as one unit, dodging and parrying blows from Zorak's forces. John's strategic mind guided them, while Marcus's bravery inspired those around him. With every fallen enemy, Lyra felt her hope grow. They were making progress. But Zorak was a fierce opponent, and he would not go down easily. As the battle raged, he began to fight back with renewed vigor, unleashing a series of powerful attacks that sent shockwaves through the area. Lyra found herself dodging a blast of energy that nearly knocked her off her feet. "Stay focused," John shouted, rallying the group. "We can't let up now." Lyra took a deep breath, steadying herself. They needed a plan. They couldn't just keep attacking blindly. They had to outsmart Zorak. She glanced at her friends, their faces reflecting the same determination that burned within her. Together, they would find a way. "Marcus, can you draw his fire?" Lyra suggested, her mind racing. "If you can distract him, John and I can flank him from the sides." Marcus nodded, a confident grin spreading across his face. "I'm on it. Just keep him busy." With a determined shout, Marcus charged at Zorak, drawing the alien prince's attention. "Hey, big guy, over here," he yelled, darting in and out of reach, baiting Zorak to follow. Lyra and John seized the opportunity. "Now," John urged, and they moved quickly, circling around to Zorak's flank. They needed to hit him where he least expected it. As Marcus continued to dodge Zorak's attacks, Lyra could see the moment of distraction was working. Zorak was furious, his focus entirely on Marcus, who was skillfully evading the powerful blows. "Now, Lyra," John shouted, and together they lunged at Zorak, attacking him from the sides. Lyra swung her spear with all her might, striking Zorak's side. The blow landed, and the alien staggered back, surprise flashing across his face. "You will pay for that," Zorak roared, turning his fury toward them. But John was quick, thrusting his weapon forward to keep Zorak off balance. "Stay together," he yelled, his eyes locked on Lyra. "We can do this." Lyra's heart raced as they continued to attack, coordinating their movements with precision. With each strike, they chipped away at Zorak's defenses. They were not just fighting for their survival, they were fighting for their freedom, for the future of their world. "Push him back," John commanded, and they surged forward, their spirits igniting a fire within them. They'd fought not just as individuals but as a united front, each blow resonating with the strength of their combined will. But Zorak was relentless. He unleashed a powerful blast of energy, and the ground beneath them shook violently. Lyra stumbled, nearly losing her balance. Zorak laughed, his eyes glinting with malice. "You think you can defeat me? I will destroy everything you hold dear." In that moment, something snapped within Lyra. Anger surged through her, igniting her resolve. "We will not let you," she shouted, her voice fierce and unwavering. "We fight for our people, for our home." Drawing upon her strength, she charged forward, spear raised high. With a powerful thrust, she aimed for Zorak's heart, focusing all her energy into that one decisive strike. As her spear connected, a surge of light erupted from the point of impact. Zorak roared in pain, the sound echoing through the battlefield as he staggered backward. "No," he shouted, disbelief flooding his expression. John and Marcus quickly moved in, flanking Zorak from either side. With a united effort, they struck together, delivering blow after blow until Zorak could no longer withstand their combined strength. The alien warrior fell to his knees, fury transforming into shock as he realized he had been defeated. "No, this cannot be," Zorak yelled, but it was too late. With one final strike, Lyra pierced through the darkness, and the oppressive energy that had gripped the battlefield began to dissipate. As Zorak crumbled to the ground, a wave of relief washed over Lyra and her friends. They had done it. They had stood against the darkness and emerged victorious. The battlefield fell silent, and in that stillness, Lyra took a deep breath. The fight was over, and they had triumphed against all odds. They were alive, their home was safe, and they had faced the enemy together. As the townsfolk gathered around them, cheering and celebrating their victory, Lyra knew this was just the beginning. Together, they had forged an unbreakable bond, and whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. Their spirits would never waver, and the strength of humanity would shine brighter than ever.